Hard work versus smart work. In a small village lived two close friends named Rahim and Karim. They had grown up together, studied in the same school, and always dreamed of becoming successful someday. Although they shared the same dreams, their approach to work was very different. Rahim strongly believed in one principle: success comes only through hard work. Karim, however, believed something slightly different. Hard work is important, but smart work makes things easier and more effective. One day, a large wood factory opened near the forest outside their village. The factory needed many workers to cut trees and bring logs from the forest. Rahim and Karim both applied for the job and were selected. On the first day, the factory owner gathered all the workers and said, "Your job is simple. Go into the forest and cut trees. The person who brings the most wood will receive the highest reward." Rahim was very excited. He picked up his axe and immediately began working with great energy. From morning to evening, he worked continuously without stopping. He did not take breaks, and he did not waste a single minute. Sweat ran down his face, but he kept chopping trees with determination. Karim, on the other hand, worked a little differently. He chopped trees for some time, then occasionally sat down for a few minutes. Sometimes he even stopped completely for a short while. Rahim noticed this and thought to himself, "Karim has become lazy. I am working non-stop, but he keeps taking breaks. There's no way he can cut more trees than me." At the end of the day, the workers gathered to count the wood they had collected. To Rahim's surprise, Karim had brought more logs than him. Rahim was shocked. "How is that possible?" he thought. "I worked all day without resting, and he kept sitting down." The next day, Rahim decided to work even harder. He woke up early, went straight to the forest, and started cutting trees faster than before. He pushed himself harder and harder. Karim again worked at his usual pace. He chopped trees for a while, then stopped for a few minutes. Sometimes he even disappeared behind the trees for a short time. Rahim kept watching him and shaking his head. At the end of the second day, they counted the wood again. Once again, Karim had collected more wood. Rahim could not understand what was happening. On the third day, Rahim finally walked up to Karim and said, "Karim, I need to ask you something honestly." Karim smiled and said, "Of course, Rahim. What is it?" Rahim said, "I work continuously from morning to evening without resting, but you take breaks again and again. Still, you always bring more wood than me. What is your secret?" Karim laughed gently. "My friend," he said, "there is no big secret." Rahim looked confused. Karim continued, "When I take those breaks, I am not just resting. I am sharpening my axe." Rahim looked surprised. "What do you mean?" he asked. Karim picked up his axe and showed it to Rahim. "When you cut trees all day without stopping, your axe slowly becomes dull. A dull axe takes much longer to cut a tree. But when I take a short break, I sharpen my axe again. Then it becomes very sharp, and I can cut trees much faster." Rahim suddenly realized the truth. He had been working extremely hard, but he had never stopped to improve the tool he was using. Karim continued, "Hard work is important, Rahim. But if you combine hard work with smart thinking, your effort becomes much more powerful." Rahim nodded slowly. That day, he learned an important lesson. From the next day, Rahim changed his strategy. He still worked very hard, but he also took short breaks to sharpen his axe. Within a few days, his productivity increased greatly. He was cutting trees faster and bringing back more wood than before. The the factory owner began noticing both Rahim and Karim. He was impressed by their dedication and teamwork. One day, he called them to his office. "I have been watching you two for a long time," the owner said. "You are both hardworking and responsible, but more importantly, you are willing to learn and improve." Rahim and Karim listened carefully. The owner continued, "I want both of you to become team leaders. Your job will be to train the new workers and teach them how to work efficiently." Rahim felt proud, but also humble. He said, "Sir, to be honest, I used to believe that only hard work mattered, but Karim taught me something very valuable, that working smart is just as important." Karim smiled and replied, "And Rahim taught me something too. Without dedication and hard work, even smart ideas cannot succeed." From that day onward, Rahim and Karim began training the new workers. Rahim would tell them, "Never be afraid of hard work. Success requires effort, patience, and determination." Karim would then add, "But always take time to think. Ask yourself if there is a better or smarter way to do the job." The workers quickly understood their message. Soon the entire factory became more productive. People worked with both effort and intelligence. Years passed, and Rahim and Karim eventually became managers of the factory. One evening, they stood near the forest where they used to cut trees years ago. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted in shades of orange and gold. Rahim smiled and said, "Do you remember the day I asked you about your secret?" Karim laughed. "Yes, of course. You were very frustrated." Rahim nodded. "If I had not asked that question, I might still believe that working harder is always the answer." Karim looked at the forest and said, "Life teaches us many lessons. The most important one is balance." He continued, "Hard work gives us strength and discipline. Smart work gives us direction and efficiency. But when we combine both, that's when true success happens." Rahim agreed. "You are right," he said. "Hard work without thinking can waste energy. Smart thinking without effort produces no real results. But together, they create something powerful." The two friends stood quietly for a moment, watching the sun disappear behind the trees. In that peaceful moment, they realized that the greatest lesson of their lives had not come from books or teachers, but from the simple act of cutting trees in the forest